Hey, welcome everybody to module policy number 9, Manage Employees. We're going to speak about appointing an employee today. So you would ask, why spend so much time on just appointing an employee? The way you appoint an employee has a big impact on that employee's experience in the system. So that is why we're going to spend just a little bit more time on specifically appointing the employee. So on the agenda, first, a brief overview or a picture that sums appointment history up. We're going to speak about appointing a new employee the traditional way, the quick appoint, transfer an employee, terminate an employee. So you would say transfer and terminate is the same. You just transfer an employee to a different company. Okay, so you terminate him on your side, but there are differences. Okay. Appointment history. Primary appointment and secondary appointment. All right, so first, a quick overview of when you appoint an employee, how that employee's journey at the company might look. So the first line you'll see is marked with a P, that's the employee's primary appointment. Okay, so in November 2019, before COVID, this person was employed as a junior developer. Okay. In December 2020, inside COVID, promoted to an intermediate developer, and in January 2022, promoted to a senior developer. So this employee has 3 appointment history records in the system. Some HR systems only has 1 record that only shows your current appointment, senior developer from 2022. The green line indicates the person's secondary appointment. So a secondary appointment is what you do at a company, but not most of the time. So you might be the health and safety officer for a company, that's your job title. So you do that in parallel with your primary position. Okay, so this person was appointed as health and safety officer from December 2019. And the important thing to see is that the secondary appointment can overlap primary appointment. But primary appointments cannot overlap. Except for one occasion, there is an exception.
Can you have more than one secondary appointment?
Yeah.
At a time.
And even your secondary appointments can overlap themselves. They can overlap the primary and overlap the secondary. So there's no business rules inside the system for secondary appointments. They're used for informational purposes at a company. Okay, so appointing a new employee. I'm going to open my browser while we speak about this one. I'm going to log into master. Appointing an employee, this is where it's located on Manage Employees. Okay, bearing that in mind, that is the location. This is the advanced appointment screen. In terms of HR systems, we have a very advanced appointment screen in our system. There's a lot of information that you can complete. You can select the person's leave group, configure everything, and click on the point. I'm going to show that now. The first field is maybe the most important one, the position. So this affects reporting. This affects a lot for this employee. Appointment in a position can even affect your leave group. Okay. So you'll see, here's our lovely org filter I've shown last week. We can filter on an org. So you can appoint, in Manage Employees, you can appoint anybody in the orgs which you have subgroup access to appoint. Okay, so in the background, we check all your subgroups together and make the orgs available for you to appoint as employee on. So you can only select the position on the orgs which you have specifically subgroup access to. Okay. That's for a position here. We didn't make it vacant. You have an option to create a new position. So this screen is actually sort of a wizard. So let's say you don't find a position in specific org unit, you don't have to go to job profiler to go and add a position. The job profiler position, you can add it from here. Okay. If I select, let's select something else here. Search. We select somebody that has more than one keyword. Great. So the last org that you've chosen is the one that you can create a position in. Okay. So if you click here, it adds a position for you, or you can select, you create a position title, and you can, this is being created as a new job profile. So not all of our clients use job profiler for the purpose that job profiler was designed for. They just use it to manage employees. Yeah, that's where the name of the module comes from. So they didn't want to set up a job profile with all the requirements. They just want to appoint in a specific position. Okay, so they didn't want to create a job profile, so that is then created from here. William, please interrupt if you have a question.
Okay, I'll do so.
Great. Position selection is the most important and first step. You can only view organization structures if you have subgroup access to. There is a setting to automatically assign. I think we use this. We spoke about this in one of the previous sessions. So you can automatically assign an employee number. You remember that? Okay. So you can choose the sequence where it starts, what the prefix is. Okay. The minimum fields used in the system are mandatory. The employee and ID number is validated for uniqueness. So at the moment you complete them, I'm not going to complete employee number now. Let's go to ID number. So that person does not exist. So the employee number validation works the same. At least one reporting line needs to be selected. After appointing the employee as a user, after appointing the employee, a user needs to be created for the employee. So you'll see once you've created the employee, there's a, when you select the employee, you select one that has already been created. The user's information is displayed. I don't know, see it here. Employee link to system user. Okay, so if the user is not created yet, we'll have the option to create the users in version 8. You have users and employees. By implementation, they are the same. The users, employee, and the employees, the user. In version 9, we only have users. That is appointing an employee. the advanced appointment. The quick appointment is functionality that was added to enter minimal information when appointing an employee. So there's not so many required fields that you have to complete, and the client can appoint somebody quickly. Okay, so quick appoint. ID number and employee number validation is also done here. You can see the welcome notification. The position, we select the position. You are actually selecting on job profiles. So if that position doesn't exist, or there isn't a vacant position, that position is just created for that employee. Okay. The organization structure is just the existing organization structure, again, that you have access to. You can send a welcome notification, but then you have to complete the email and things. Okay. The welcome notifications, that notification say welcome to the system. Click on this link, and then the user is taken to functionality where they can reset the password.
From a not from a practical perspective, but from a coding perspective,
Yeah.
is this basically the previous page just with some fields removed?
No, I'll go to let's go to the frame. The frame source. So this is quick appoint employee.
Okay.
So it's a different web form.
Okay. But does it basically use the same functions as the other page to save the employee?
Yeah, the same logic is used.
Yeah.
But it's not the same page of this field hidden.
Yeah.
So the code that was used on the appoint employee was copy and pasted, but the whole page wasn't used as a whole because previous page is very involved.
So adding certain fields to quick appoint under certain conditions should technically be easy.
Easier. It was also developed after the appointed employees. We've learned from mistakes. And also on the screen, you can save and appoint another. So you can stay on the same screen and appoint another employee. We had a client in Mauritius that appointed fish packers. So they had to literally stand in the morning, and the fish packer came, was appointed temporarily, and they gave details. Okay, next. And so they appointed people on the system. That is literally how it worked. The job profile creates a new position and background, the work notification sent, employee ID and ID, and the employee number is validated for uniqueness and save in another. Yeah, that's a good point. Any questions about the point or the quicker point? Yeah. So when do you transfer an employee? Yeah.
Would transfer not maybe be as well cover when someone gets promoted from junior to intermediate? Then
Yeah.
would that be a transfer?
Yeah. It might be a demotion as well.
Okay. Is that a warning or just information?
Don't have to do anything to the hobby. Transferring an employee. So there's two ways to get to the appointment history, either on the organizational assignment appointment history, or you can go to the basic information page and just click on edit appointment history. So this is where you start the transfer. Important fields is the reason for transfer. That's the first one. So inside the system, you have a mapping, appointment type to appointment reason for ending. So this maps permanent, for instance, to reasons for ending. So you can have for non-permanent positions, you can have different reasons for ending your appointment that is set up over here. Okay, so only those that are linked to permanent will be shown here. Now, previously, just out of interest, like you could, before schematification, you could transfer an employee to another schema. So now you can only transfer the employee inside the schema. Okay, the new position is the same screen that we had a look at previously. It's sort of, it was a type screen. Movement reason. So you have an additional field there's no business rules linked to movement reason. It's just a reason or sub reason why the employee is moving. Okay, so it's fixed for all of the appointment types or reasons for ending. And there's no specific business rules linked to it in the system. So you can select the first day in a new position, you can select the last day in a new position. So it might be a temporary move for a 6-month period to a different position, after which the employee will move back to his original position or the employee's contract will end. Okay.
What?
So you might know ahead of time, this person is appointed as a 6-month contractor from the 1st of January to the 30th of June. Okay, so he might extend his contract or put him in a different contract position from the 1st of July until the end of December.
Okay. So I was just about to ask, what would be the reason for knowing we're pointing into a new position and we'll at a different position after that?
So for most people, you don't know the end date. But for contractual employees, that is the norm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
For employee, it's based on the master data appointment type, appointment reasons for ending mapping. The last day in new position is blank by default. So just to note, blank means 4/9/12/31, so the end of time. So after that time, it's not our responsibility. Okay, so that's what we call the high date in the system. The low date is 1900/01/01. You'll see in some of the SQL queries when there's is null for a date, it'll give 1900/01/01. There's additional movement reasons, nothing to anything complementary reasons because that's the schematification, transfer to a different schema. So we had clients using the system with a holding company that owned 7 companies, and none of them had anything to do with each other. So, but you could transfer an employee inside a holding company. It's funny sometimes. The employee moved from some finance to some logistics. And because you deal with the data, you can see the person's record, and then it's all of a sudden they pop up under some information technology. And then some finance sends a query, but this person's appointment is there. Okay. This means they don't speak to each other, but all of them use the system or use the system. Okay. FNB also used the LMS before they went over to Oracle, RNB and West Bank and First National Bank all use the same system for learning. Okay, any questions there on transfer?
No, I think no. Please.
William, you still happy?
Happy. Yes, thank you, Theuns.
Go back to the appointment listing, speak about terminating an employee. You can also appoint employee in another position. So how does that differ from the transfer? So it just, the transfer shows your appointment history on top. So you can add a different appointment history record. If you enter detail here that overlaps another appointment history record, it will show you the validation. Say primary positions can't overlap. Let's maybe do one while we're on here. Select the position. Accountant. That's the appointment type. Warning, employees not allocated to APL. Displays the history, so let's just go back. So it automatically, let's go back to the appointment history. I did not save it as a primary position. Okay. As a test. The current appointment records started in late overlap with the following appointment records. When you deal with the employee import, there's also a fair number of validation called into the employee import to prevent that.
Okay.
Okay, so we went through a process where we changed the employee import to sort of foresee what the data should be and make guesses and decisions on data. Later on, we scrapped that. Because in this case, we would have said, okay, there was the primary appointment currently active. We end that one and start this one on the next day, this record. And not all companies work like that. Some work like that. And so trying to interpret data is good. But making your own decisions based on that is not always so good. So we stopped doing that and just loaded it as an exception. And that removed a lot of queries from the employee import, just as a side note. The terminate employee. So under terminate employee, the first option that will show if you have still employee funding that's outstanding against your name. So a company might fund an employee to do a degree or do a short course. And but the funding in this case is still outstanding. So it hasn't been paid by either the company or the employee. So this first needs to be resolved before the employee can be terminated. That's just one employee is notified, the user is notified. Okay, so I've taken note. I think the same is true with assets. It's assets on your name, you just notify as an administrator of the assets on the employee's name. We work in a virtual working environment, so some employees have digital equipment that they still first have to hand in before they were terminated or before their last day at the company. So termination, you enter your last day and your reason for ending employment, which also is the same mapping. All the reasons for ending it maps to permanent. Right. You'll see the secondary positions also displayed here. After the termination, you can choose what to do with the position. The position can either remain vacant or the position can be marked as inactive. So in JP job position table, that means the is deleted flag is updated to true. So you can't appoint another employee in this position after this time. There's an interesting field here which says exclude from reports. In the database in Pure appointed history, the field is actually called is blacklisted. So we did a development to exclude reports, to exclude employees from reports for a client that blacklisted their employees. So we just renamed it to exclude from reports. from certain employee reports, like list of employees and list of employees extended, he won't pick up this employee. So they just did not want to see that employee on the reports anymore. But the actual reason for that is up to them. But some of the reports, the companies are not interested to see. So maybe employees are left on a bad footing or whatever the case may be. So you are blacklisted, but you're in the system's instance, you're just excluded from the reports. Okay. Employee funding transactions are noted and shown. The last day is the termination date. Again, there is the mapping for the reasons for ending. Deactivate position, multi-IP job position, so that's need to spell that correctly. That's deleted equals 1. And exclude from reports is the blacklisted field.
Sorry, is there any difference between terminating employee like that and just manually giving him an end date, for instance, today?
No. In the background, that date is synchronized.
Okay.
That date is desynchronized in the appointment history. So every time you save an appointment record, so let's say you save an appointment record with an end date of end of this year, and it was actually the end of 2024, then the termination date also changes. It's recalculated based on the maximum end date for all of your appointments.
Okay. The reason is I asked just that the base-based integration for allowing base-based companies to be selected for employees as well.
Okay.
And it's an interesting, like you mentioned earlier that some HR systems don't allow for additional appointments. Like base-based doesn't allow for additional appointment; they only allow the one appointment.
Yeah.
But for instance, when you terminate an employee, it works. But when you manually give it an end date, and that way of terminating employee doesn't register correctly.
Yeah.
So that's what I was looking if it's precisely the same thing that happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might be because they physically sort of flag that says whether the employee is terminated or not.
Yeah. So so we only have end dates basically, and we use those end dates to check if he's still active or not active. We don't have
employee dates.
So we don't have a flag that says this employee is terminated, this employee is not terminated.
We deduce it from the
End date.
end date, but there is an absolute end date. That's not stored on the PRS appointment histories. It's stored on the, I don't know if you've seen it, PRS employee dates. You have your start date in group, your start date in company, start date in primary position, and then you have your termination date. Have you seen it?
No.
Let me show you. Select from PRS employee dates. Let's take one employee as an example, as a good example. Okay. So we're going to use. Let's use this one. Oh, let's not like a low ID instead of a higher ID. Dates that differ here. You see, for most of them, these dates are the same. Use this one, the store date in position. That's a schema ID, date, employee ID. 51, yeah, 54. Okay. This person has one appointment, is that the correct one? started in company, oh, sorry, all of them are the same. Just look at one that's different. So we're gonna start date in primary position is greater than the start date in group. Let's use the 8th. Sorry for the example. I want one with more than one employee report, more than one appointment report.
Is this on master, nee?
No, this is a copy of master.
Select count
Say,
group by.
I'm actually looking at the wrong one. Starting position needs to be correctly installed, right? Um. It's 48, 49, and 50. So like this, one of the example now.
Try, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, maybe a count and then group by the ID, just so we can see. Find one that's got multiple.
Yeah.
Sorry, Arby.
That's a good one.
I don't hear that a lot. I'll take it.
Don't you hear a lot?
That's a good idea.
Well, that's good ideas. It's just to filter out the less good ideas. I'll find some. I don't know why. I thought count 21,
I was just about to ask.
but you know, just to say, it doesn't make a difference. Count 1, count A. Let's say this is the last one. Like that one. So 3 appointment records, there's a start and end dates. 28, yeah, 2018, 2019, 20, yeah. That's a good one. Choose plan again. So this employee's start date for absolute dates is calculated based on the appointment dates. The start date group for this employee can be changed to 2020. Actually, start date in companies also, any start date in primary position is the same. Okay, so not the best example in terms of dates, but this is just to show the start dates, the absolute start dates are shown here. So start date included, so start date in the holding company over all the schemas. Start date in companies, so start date in the current schema that you're appointed in. Start date in primary position is the last start date for your last position in the current schema. And termination date is the termination date of your last appointment, which then might be all the nice 12/31. Okay. So there is an example, and that is, there is an example, there is an exception, contingent workers at all. So, and so from the front end on Signify, it's not possible. By the employee import, it's not possible. So there was a custom process created for ARM for this specific functionality. They're called contingent workers. So At OM you have three operations, BlackRock, Kumani, and Beership. So 3 different mines. A contractor comes in that should be able to perform work on any one of those mines. Okay. And in parallel, so today they can be on BlackRock and tomorrow they can be on Beership. So there are contingent workers. Contingent workers, if you know the contingency plan, it's a backup plan. So employees on the mine get sick, but the operation still need to continue. So they hire a contractor to fill in for those employees or perform work for which they do not have skills on the mine. And that employee needs to do training on BlackRock, Beership, and Kumani on all 3 operations. So they need, and for you to do training on our system, you need to be an active employee on that operation equals schema. So there was a custom import state created for OM specifically to import contingent workers. Okay, but then they have the first operational schema they are appointed in, we call their home schema. Their home, that's where they're appointed first, because you need to be, your employee record in PRS employees needs to be assigned to a schema. Although your employee record schema is 1, 2, and 3. So that is your home schema, is a schema you were appointed in first. Okay. So a secondary appointment, we're going to come back to appointment history now. Secondary appointment is when an employee performs additional functions, but not most of the time. A perfect example is the dean of a college. The dean of a college is his permanent primary position is he's the dean of a college. His secondary position is he's a lecturer. Okay, so he performs both functions in parallel. And I wanted to show something on appointment history. There was a slide on appointment history. And let's do this. I actually wanted to show exactly what you said, Ollie. So choose yesterday as the appointment date. And go back to the appointment history. The employee has been terminated. Okay. So if I edit the record again and make the end date blank, then the employee is not terminated anymore. So you can.
And that's where the problem comes in, because the integration with another software, they don't use the dates as a determining factor for termination. That's just one question quickly regarding employees. I already know the answer. I just want to make 100% sure. So all employees at the moment, when you create a new employee, when you change their details, blah, 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 all that information is saved in PRS employees.
Yes.
And PRS basic information is a view of PRS that's generated from PRS employees, and I'm assuming a few other tables at the moment. So if PRS employees is the be all end all for all employee information.
Yes.
Okay. So there's no additional. So for instance, your appointment, when you create a user, etc., the users are also stored
In the users table.
in the users table.
So there are different tables.
But when we do validation and checks, so say for instance, new development, and you have to choose between using the users table and the PRS employees, always PRS. Okay.
I think if you're setting a user property.
Yeah, except if it's specific to the requirements of using a user. Yeah, I understand.
So let's take this page. This is PRS appointment histories. This is PRS employees. This is the movement reason, appointment type is PRS appointment histories. This is PRS employee dates. Personal information is PRS employees. This is actually a table pure as employee languages because you can select multiple languages for this employee.
Mm.
Or pure is based information languages. I think it's maybe still the previous data-driven table. Nationality, I don't know, but this is all pure as employees. Location. It's pure as employee locations.
What is that location referencing again?
So that is your geographical location.
Oh, okay.
So was created for on. In their case, you are appointed at Kumani, but you can be at one of 3 locations. Bruce Mine, King Mine, and there's another mine you can be located at. A subsidiary, it's a legacy field. The only place we use subsidiary currently is for salary review.
So I noticed that when you import new employees, the subsidiary field is not selected.
Yeah.
So then salary review won't work for imported employees at the moment. Except if you obviously manually go and select the subsidiary.
There's a subsidiary field
That you can select. Oh,
that you
okay.
can use when you specifically use salary review. You use that import to set the subsidiary for the import.
Well, okay.
Because there's a pot of gold for every subsidiary.
Wait, what is the subsidiary? Sorry, what is a
It's just a grouping of employees around. It's just a fancy name to group. So in company terms, West Bank would be a subsidiary of First Land Bank.
okay?
So it's not practically in use anymore.
That's how the salary review model works from that. The contact details, pure employee contact details. This leave detail, this is leave employees or employee leave, something like that. Remuneration is such, we haven't used this for so long. I don't have the name of this offhand, but reporting line is employee report to.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you can have multiple employee, you can have multiple reporting lines.
The remuneration field, what is that used for? Because I couldn't find anyone.
Just to add.
Well, I don't look very far, but
So I don't think it's active.
okay.
Let's select the employee. Just have a quick look here. Maybe it's active, maybe not. So under yes, the menu item here called remuneration, if I remember correctly. Not on employee development, let's go. Let's go to the manage where you configure manage employees menu items. Maybe the module is not active, but we'll see now. Manage employees configuration. So we did have a payroll, not complete payroll system, but we did have a payroll link inside manage employees where you stored monthly remuneration information.
Mm-hmm.
That's not in use anymore.
Why did we stop doing payroll?
So with remuneration, you have to either do it properly or don't do it.
Yeah, of course.
So with leave. So there was actually only one client using. It was a combination of do it properly and doing, and trying to use payroll, trust and payroll, trust with payroll, JD Edwards, or SAP.
Mm.
Delegate people,
That's many employees of switch on
especially stated that.
switch on the remuneration on the managed employees configuration. So it's selected the menu item. Relation rates, is it relations? No. I think there's also a module that should be actually switched on, or it's not even permanently on.
Okay.
Check that, maybe is it over here? Remuneration. Modifying the page of we can download. So what we do is we do have functionality where you can give us access to your payslips and then that will make them available for download from the system. So from my details, over here, from my profile, you have an option if that setting is on to download your payslip. Do my payslip.
Okay.
But then you provide us the PDF document. We don't populate the PDF document with data.
So one last question, Theuns. When you go to employee and you terminate him. So for instance, if you terminate this employee, wasn't there a button that said reappoint employee?
Oh, reappoint, what's the specific word? When the employees terminate, let's go here. If it's over here, we need the previous employee. Let's go to review appointment listing. Reinstate.
Reinstate employee.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Theuns, there are two types of reappointments. So there is reinstatement and then there is reappointment. Reinstatement is where there's a break in service between two appointment records, and reappointment is you just continue on your previous position.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's been a disciplinary and you've been suspended. So you're reappointed, you just carry on.
Okay, yeah, so that actually is that button only enabled under certain conditions? Because at the moment I can't, when you terminate an employee now, the reinstate option is not available, doesn't pop up anymore.
Is there a leave setting for that, Alice? I know that has to do with leave. It was
Yes, so I do think that it's a manage employee setting. I'm not sure where it sits again, but it has a big impact on leave. So there's a lot of rules regarding it with leave, but it's not configured in leave. So it is an appointment setting.
Yeah.
I'm not completely sure where it's switched on.
You're speaking about a reappoint employee, not a reinstate.
Yeah,
For you.
okay.
That's for you. Active talking about reinstate. Speed that you brought it up. All right. Any questions? Questions or comments?
I should have waited till this slide, but now I don't have any more.
Any further questions? Okay. William,
So
you're happy? Yes.
I do have a comment whilst we're talking about leave and appointments. So
Yes.
you must be aware that when a person has active leave, so is on the employee leave table, there's an entry there with active leave cycles for that employee. When you terminate that employee, you will automatically trigger a closeout of his leave book. So everything he has until that termination date. So when you go and reappoint or reinstate, that will also have an effect on leave. So you must go to the leave module and reconfigure and reprocess things to give that person his leave back. That is not automatically handled, but
Okay.
so, you must just be careful when changing appointment information with clients that uses leave.
Okay, no, that's good because now I was thinking about okay, but this is not going beyond the scope of this. I
Yes.
think we'll discuss it later. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, now thanks, Aldous. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got. I'm good. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, then for your time. Much appreciated. See
Thank you, Tian.
Thanks, Theuns.
you in the next session.
Dank je, Theuns.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.